All right, good morning, everybody. We're on to our next call for the week, for the day. We're going to go through our weekly infrastructure sync. We're going to discuss the back end, more the DevOps side of what we're doing to support our different test and dev nets. We're going to go through and discuss in detail any specific changes to our infrastructure. Leo, if you could please lead us off today.
Yeah, sure. There's no much updates in terms of infrastructure, but we started this migration to New York data center, and we already have a full environment in New York, so we can now delete the old block archiver. And I will share that pull request after this meeting. And apart of that, I think that I had some problems trying to expose the farmer RPC endpoint. I created the Nginx rule to proxy pass to the 9955 port in the farmer, but I was not able to connect. I was getting like a socket hangout error in there. And I tested locally. I tried to make several modifications and with no luck, actually. So regarding infrastructure, I think that's my main task, my main pending task for now, to be able to expose this farmer RPC, at least in the test A, to later replicate that in the dev and the test B. This is related to the storage API for the Subspace JS, actually. And yeah, I think that's the main things that I have working in terms of infrastructure. I think that there are some pending things that are really obvious, like when we restart this B and dev, we should do this update to New York data center. And yeah, I think that's everything for me right now.
Okay. Can we cover in a little bit more detail the issue you're having with WebSockets, or Nazar, do you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, it's supposed that when you run this farmer, when I run this farmer locally with Rust, it exposes a 9955 WebSocket. And the storage API can connect through a WebSocket provider to this farmer and get a file. So for the public environment in the test A, for example, we were needing to expose this to the public. So the Subspace JS examples were able to connect to the farmer and get a file, a submitted file. And when I do that in the Docker with using Docker, actually, I exposed the port in the Docker compose file. Yeah, and it is actually exposing the port. But when I expose it to the Nginx rule, it is not like connecting correctly. I explained it to Nazar in a private message, this problem. So I think that he's aware about this. But for people could understand is related to that, to be able to connect to the farmer and get a file from a front end or from the library itself.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. Basically, the reason, the root cause of that is that when you're running it with Docker or without Docker, doesn't really matter, on a 9955 port and connecting to it directly, you're connected to like root path, like in HTTP term. But when you're exposing it with Nginx, we are adding like /farmer, whatever. And that like extra thing get passed onto the application, and application like, I don't know what this route is, and it just gives you 404.
Oh, yeah, I fixed that. I fixed the rule in Nginx in the proxy pass, So the request is reaching the farmer without the farmer RPC, just the 9955.
That should have fixed it. I'll just need to check what's going
Yeah.
on.
Okay. And Leo, can you just explain it to us like we're 5-year-olds? What is the New York City migration? Like what is in the New York data center now for everybody on the call? Just so we understand like how many instances, what applications are running on those instances for, and which environment it is.
Oh, right now we have 3 environments. We have test A, test B, and the development environment. And right now, and before we were using San Francisco data centers, and we had some issues in there in terms of delay. So we decided to move to a closest or to a more to a closest data center for all team. So we started moving these instances to the New York data center. So we started with the test A environment, and we have pending 2 environments related to the test B and the development.
And how many
We
different
also
Sorry,
we
go
also
ahead.
have the some block archival some block archival instances to download blocks and update those or archivals that are also living in New York. Yeah.
So how many different instances do we have in New York right now?
We have 2. We have the block archiver and the test A instance. And we have
Okay.
2 instances in pending to be migrated in the next restart.
Okay. And test A consists of Docker Compose with a farmer, a client, a relayer, and is that
And
it?
an extra volume for the and an extra volume with I think that 1 terabyte for the farmer and for the relayer data.
Okay. And that is running. That what is that the latest and greatest on test A? No, which okay,
Still the same as it was.
which is how old?
Pretty old.
Okay. And that is, sorry, you're gonna have to remind me. What is pending an update on that one?
We have to move test B to New York in the next restart. When
Test
will
A
be
is the
fully.
public facing right now, right?
No,
No.
it's test B.
No. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's test B. So we are waiting to have this fully working in test A, so we can restart test B and move it to New York.
So test A is still syncing.
Yeah,
They-
it's still seeking. We have this problem. We face this problem with the rate limit in the relayer, so it took more time than it should be.
From what I can
Actually-
tell, it seems to have synced fully already.
Yeah, I think that right
Yeah.
now it is working.
Difference
really-
is like 100,000 blocks from test B.
Okay. And test A includes Polkadot?
No,
No, just Kusama.
same parachains, yeah, as on
Not test B.
test B. So it doesn't include the 4 recent parachains: Picasso, Unique, and some others.
Okay.
So if test A is working right now, maybe we can do these changes in test B. I can add it as a task for today and do this change also to New York and everything.
Yeah, but you also need to restart it from different images when you do that.
Okay, so we can make test A the public facing test net, and then we can migrate test B to New York City. We can upgrade the instances of test B to be the same, and then we can upgrade test B to have all of the latest images and then begin syncing that from Genesis. And this will include Polkadot and the latest Kusama parachains.
It should.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And you're going to take care of all that, Leo?
Sorry, but is that like working and tested, Serge? It's like ready to be used
What?
in test B? The latest
What
changes in
exactly?
the relayer and everything, what you are working, because we were deploying the development environment configurations, right?
So the way it's actually working right now, every time you merge to master or to main on relayer, it actually builds a new image. So whatever you started on test A was already latest on the relayer side.
Okay.
It's not like on a snapshot or anything.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think that we can do these changes in test B. I can handle that, the domain changes to test A, and the deployment and everything. Yeah. I think that
The only difference between test A and test B is that Moon River is a little bit behind. It's like 300 megabytes difference. The rest is fully synced.
Okay. Okay, good. That's fine. Yeah, that'll catch up. Okay, so just to recap, to make sure I understand. So we're going to make test A, which is in New York, the public facing test net, which we're going to see for the relayer, for test relayer and for Polkadot JS apps for the Aries test net. We're then going to migrate the test B environment to New York City. We're going to upgrade all of the instances on test B. I guess we're really going to create a new environment, which is going to have the same instance classes as what we have on test A. And that's going to be our new test B. And then we're going to deploy all of the latest images for the relayer and for the Subspace client onto test B and start syncing that from Genesis.
yes.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Okay.
And
Any other
sorry,
go ahead.
do we include on the new test B, do we include Polkadot and new parachains?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
So that way, as soon as that's synced, we can make all that public facing and switch over again.
Yeah, and also update the front end in the public URL to get it with all the parachains and everything.
Okay, great. Do you think that that's achievable today, Leo? That migration?
Yeah, but there will be. I think that it will take a couple of days to get it updated. The relayer
To get it synced,
and
you
imported,
mean?
yeah, to get it synced.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for
but
sure.
yeah, I think that all the other things are feasible for today.
Great. Okay. And you had mentioned that test A had gone down and had to be restarted over the weekend?
Yeah, I was meaning about the testnet issue we had the last week. In this
Okay, so this is the one we already discussed.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay, any other updates on the infrastructure side or anything else we need to discuss from your point of view, Leo?
No. I think that the test B got like less resources. It's not a dedicated machine, so I will be updating that to reflect the same test A. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Great. Any questions from the group for Leo? Okay. All right, Serge, I'll turn it over to you. If there's anything on the archiver or the infrastructure side or the relayer side you want to discuss or update us on.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I set up a few alerts. First one was alert for disk usage, because we already had a few times that relayer has stopped, but we didn't know why, and it turned out that just there was no disk space on the mounted volume. And we had alert on DigitalOcean, but they only work for the droplet itself. It doesn't cover mounted volumes. So I created an alert for disk usage on Datadog. So every time we have more than like 80%, I think, we will get an alert. Currently, I have added myself, Nazar, and Leo. If you want me to add anyone else, I will do that. And I also created another alert for Relayer. So if there is no logs during no more than 5 log entries during 5 minutes, same people will also get an alert. And yeah, and some minor stuff like there was no Datadog agent on test A, so I have added it. And I guess that's it.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit more about the script for continuous updates of the archives, the block archiver?
Yeah, so currently, before we had this script that Nazar implemented to download blocks from the local archival node. And it will start from Genesis and keep adding blocks to archive, to disk space, until it reaches like the last finalized block, and then it stops. And so we have archive, but over the time it gets outdated because the chain works, but archive remains the same. So in order to update our archives, we can implemented this script, so we can keep adding new blocks from the node. It can be local node and can be remote node. So we subscribe to finalized heads, and we add those blocks to the archive, so we can have it up to date.
You said that's PR under review right now?
Yes.
Okay. And is that, remind me, so these archives, are they shared across different test environments, or do we have a different set of archives for each test environment?
Initially, we store it on the droplet, block archive droplet, but I think they were updated recently, right? By Nazar, I think. So probably test B has older archives. So we have it on block archive droplet, and then we copy archives to particular environment when we start the environment. So I think test B has old archives, test A has more recent archives, but once Relayer processes archives, we remove to have more space. We remove archives from the disk because we don't need them.
Okay, so we have local copies of the archives which we're writing into the instances for the individual testnet bootstrap nodes so that we can read them from disk faster. But don't we have like a common shared backup of the archives that we're using between environments, or do we have a different copy of those backups between each environment?
We have just one server where there is some version of those archives. That's it.
Okay.
And we restart some, like when we wipe some node, we just copy them over.
Yeah.
At that point in time.
And that one server is the one that we're going to be doing the continuous updates on once this PR is merged.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's just pending your review, Nazar. Okay, and what all is in those archives right now, Serge? Which chains?
All the chains we have on test B. So Kusama plus parachains, except the 4 recent ones, and Polkadot archive.
Okay, and for the 4 recent ones, that's pending on finality, holding them?
I think we haven't tried to launch them local.
Yeah, I think not anymore. If they have archival nodes, it should work.
Yeah. We don't depend on finality. So let me check if we can set up a local archival node.
Okay.
No, you don't need archival node. You need to just connect to RPC, whatever is provided.
But it will be faster from the local one, right?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it'll be faster, but they should all be so new that it shouldn't really take that long to sync them from Genesis. I mean, it's probably not worth the extra effort of going through and like spinning up a node and maintaining the node and everything like that. That's just something we need to do for like Polkadot and Kusama because they have such a massive history. Network sync would take forever.
But we don't have to maintain those nodes. We just start it once, create archive, and then we can remove local node and keep syncing from the remote one. So it's like one-time action.
Yeah, but it just feels like that's like, I don't know, like it's taken us forever just to get like a state mine node working, you know, like days. So it just seems like it'd be better if we just did it over the network and not have to go through all that unless we really
Well,
want to.
it depends. Like for me, it took less than a day to sync to create archival nodes of 14 chains. Just it's either working or it's not working.
Let me check and we will move from there. Like if it's available, I can try with local node. If it's not, we will sync from remote.
Okay. And given that we have this ability to sync directly from these parachain networks and not depend on finality anymore, does that mean that we can make those default connections and not be rate limited by on finality anymore, and not have that being a blocker?
We're using currently we're using all connections.
Okay. So when we get rate limited by on finality, it just switches over to a different connection.
Yes.
Okay. And how do we know when we get rate limited?
There were errors
just get
in
an
the
error.
logs.
Okay. Do you have to like manually read the logs to find that?
No, like there will be like you request something, you'll get an error like you're rate limited. You'll just disconnect and we'll reconnect to something else.
Yeah, but I guess how are you guys actually notified that that's happening? That's what I'm asking.
We don't
Is
need
there
to be notified. We just specify a list of endpoints. It just switches automatically on the library level.
Okay. But I saw that you were on Telegram, you were letting the engineers on finality know that we were rate limited. So did you just like manually go in and check the logs and happen to notice that? Is that how you were aware of that, Serge?
In that case, yes, but now because we have this alert for if relayer has no activity, because if it reconnects, it takes time. So there is no activity, and we will probably get this alert from now on.
Oh, so
But it won't help for particular parachains. Like if everything works but one chain doesn't work.
True.
We
Yeah, we still
basically
need
approach the
someone to
point
check.
where we basically approach the point where we need to have actually metrics, like proper Prometheus server endpoint, and collect those logs so we can have alerts on whatever chain is stalled, regardless of whether the rest is working.
Probably Datadog can do that.
Yeah, but application needs to expose those metrics first before you can collect them.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like something we need to add into the roadmap. Okay. All right. Any other updates, Serge?
No.
All right. Any questions for Serge from the group? Okay. Nazar, do you have any updates on your side for infrastructure?
I just was debugging a little bit why we had the it was not relayer, it was the whole network that was stalled on test day, and we found that it was the disk space, so we already started everything and it's worked now. The only thing I did is I tested, created like a snapshot of everything on the monorepo on the December 10th. So we have a snapshot which is a bit newer than that test snapshot that was done a week ago, before that, or something like that. So basically, anytime we need to have a new snapshot, we just can create it. So I did one, so we can have something more fresh. That's about it.
What is this a snapshot of?
It's a monorepo. Farmer, net node, chain specs, binaries, images.
A snapshot of the entire environment. Or
Of the GitHub.
It's a tag. It's a tag on the main branch for which we automatically build images, executables, chain specs, stuff like that.
oh, okay. So you're just talking about what we deploy, not the actual. It's not like a backup of the chain at that point, like the archival history. Just when you say
nothing about deployment, it's just building executables and images.
okay. When you say snapshot, I'm thinking snapshot of an environment, but you're saying snapshot of the
Snapshot of
code.
development progress, yes.
Okay, got it.
Like it's not really a release. That's why I call it like a snapshot and put a date on it.
Why is it not really a release?
Well, release. I think a release expects that there is some kind of versioning for it. There is some kind of migration path, and we just have snapshots which are incompatible with each other. So that's why.
Okay. What do we need to do to get it to a proper release schedule with some Simver?
Well, we need to write migrations for every single transition. Like every time we change events or change data structures or rename palettes or anything, we need to write migrations for everything.
Okay, but then if we don't have migrations, it's just a breaking change, right? So it's just a major update.
Yes. We do
Okay.
major upgrades all the time.
Okay. So what do we need to do? So before we have migrations, is there any way that we can have a proper release schedule or some sort of semantic versioning?
It's pointless if it's not compatible. Well, we can make like version 1, version 2, version 3, version 5, which are like all major breaking versions, but doesn't really make a big difference between snapshots and these.
Okay. I mean, it seems like it would be useful if we at least had some sort of a, like we're on point 1 or whatever, or just like, but it's just like right now, we just have.
We're on December 10th snapshot. That's it. Like if you're December 10th, just go there and download executables from there.
Okay. It just feels kind of meaningless just to have dates as snapshots versus
because it
some
kind of
version.
is.
But it's not. I mean, we do actually have a roadmap. We're not just kind of like making things up as we go along.
Right, but we are not following semantic versioning. We are not having compatible, like, we do not have a upgrade path from older versions. Like, we break consensus all the time, we break rules all the time. So,
Okay.
that's
So maybe at some point in the future we'll figure it out. But right now,
yes, definitely,
it's meaningless. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Guess that's another thing to add to the roadmap. Have a roadmap for versioning. Okay. Any questions for Nazar? Okay. Anything else we need to discuss from the group on infrastructure or environments?
Once we get test A as the main like public version, did we want to start getting the team members live on that?
we want to get them live on test B once that is updated. It just took us like 2 weeks to get test A running properly.
Gotcha.
Actually, we want to spin up a new environment which has no relayer that we're going to use to sync the team.
Okay.
That's the farmer environment that we've been discussing.
That's right. Okay.
Which I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to see if anybody else had questions first. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from the group? Okay. All right. So let's discuss that point. So Nazar, if we want to set up a third environment which has no relayer, which just has the genesis history, or whatever we're calling it, the deterministic seed history that we're creating, and then start having the team run farmers for that. Is there anything we need to change in the code, or is that just a deployment related issue, like a configuration issue?
It's the same kind of deployment as test or devnet. It's nothing different.
Okay. Okay. So what would you recommend as the next steps for setting up such an environment?
Just copy paste the section from Terraform to deploy a new droplet. Just install software on it.
And where should we do that? Which region should we do that in?
I would do the same region, New York. It's kind of in the middle of the world in sense of like who will be connecting to it. It's not very far from like the West Coast. It's closer to Europe. It's like better strategic place, I think, than California.
You just really don't like California, huh?
I like California, but it's a little bit further away.
He doesn't like the latency of California.
Okay. So Leo, can we spin up another? So this would be a farmer environment. Okay. It's just going to have a substrate client, a subspace farmer, and a public RPC. And I guess, what is that? Well, that is an Nginx server. Or no, that's a public RPC node with an Nginx server. That's it. So no relayer, no block archiver, none of that stuff. Just basically a new environment from Genesis that is publicly addressable.
Yeah. Do we need to create some DNS records for this or something?
Same as testnet, just let's call, I know, farmernet.
Yeah, farmernet.
Farmer.
Yep.
Perfect.
And we need to spin up deploy a Polkadot.js RPC endpoint for this as well, so that we can have a front end block.
So basically the
this.
same as testnet. Just create
Yeah.
farmernet copy of it without relayer.
Okay. All right. Once we have that, then do we have instructions for how to run a farmer in that environment that are just like copy and paste run it, or do we have to provide specific instructions now?
That's the instructions that Justin and Ozgun are working on.
Okay. So can you guys get those instructions finalized and share them with me so I can run a node and test it out to see if it works from my machine?
Yeah.
And then as soon as we can get that working, then we can deploy that to the team.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, Leo. No rush. I mean, well, obviously we want to move quickly, but realistically, when do you think you can have that new environment set up?
Which you tell me what's the priority, Subspace JS or these infrastructure changes?
Infrastructure changes.
I think that we can have both today. Yeah, it's all. I have done it so many times that should be faster.
Okay, so we should have test B and farmer net on New York today.
Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as you have farmer net working, let's update Serge, or sorry, Ozgun and Justin, so that they can get the documentation updated for that. So let's say by end of day tomorrow, Justin and Ozgun, let's get the documentation ready and test that out. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
I think that I will open a Discord to talk about all these changes in just one place.
Great. Okay. Anything else infrastructure related we need to discuss?
I just had a random thought that we have these instructions with how to run Nginx, for instance. You could just create a custom Nginx container image, just deploy it with two environment variables instead of just messing with the system and like installing packages and configuring it manually and stuff like that. So maybe eventually we can just have like infra repository where we have these like special images and we can just reuse it all the time. Will be easier in maintenance.
Okay. So that would be a task for Leo to set that up, to add to his backlog.
I think if someone can create an issue somewhere, that would be sufficient for now. I don't think it's immediate priority.
Okay. Can you create an issue for that, Nazar?
Yes,
Just
I'll
so I can-
probably create a Terraform repository.
Okay, great. All right. Anything else? Okay, the last thing to mention, which I had forgotten, is that we have our Substrate Builder 6-week check-in today, which is in roughly 2 hours. It should only be 15 or 20 minutes. I believe that we don't all need to be there for that. I think probably just Nazar and I can attend that, just to give them an update, since it's not actually a formal presentation like we had for the last milestone review. So you guys don't need to be there even if you've been invited. More important for you guys to build, write code, do great things for Subspace. Okay. All right. Well, thanks. If there's nothing else, thanks everybody for the updates and attending, and thanks everybody for watching. And we will see you guys again next week.
Have a good day, everybody.